Every 4 years, Americans take part in a powerful tradition, the presidential election, and this happens on the first Tuesday in November. From candidates stepping into the spotlight to the moment the new president takes the oath of office, let's break down the journey of how we choose our leaders. To run for president, candidates need to be at least 35 years old, born in the US, and have lived in the country for the last 14 years. Candidates usually announce their plans to run a year before the election. Local authorities manage the elections with help from many people. The process begins with primaries and caucuses in January or February of the election year. In primaries, voters cast secret ballots to choose their favorite candidates from the major parties. Caucuses are different. They are gatherings where voters openly discuss and show their support for candidates. After the votes are counted, delegates are assigned based on the support each candidate receives. Delegates are important in the election. Each state, along with Washington, D.C. and some territories, gets a certain number of delegates based on how many people live there. Some states also receive extra delegates for voting for the last party's candidate. These delegates represent their state at the National Party Convention, where they vote to pick the party's presidential nominee. There are two types of delegates: pledged delegates, who must support the candidate they were assigned, and unpledged or superdelegates, who can support any candidate. The National Convention happens in the summer of the election year. A candidate needs a majority of delegate votes to win the party's nomination. If no candidate gets enough votes, the convention decides who will be the nominee. After the nominees are chosen, they start campaigning across the country. They hold rallies and debates to connect with voters and share their ideas. This campaigning is key to winning support before the general election. On election day, voters go to polling places to cast their votes for president and vice president. However, they do this indirectly through the Electoral College. Each state has a number of electors based on its population, adding up to 538 electors. Washington, D.C. gets 3 electors, while other US territories don't have any. After the votes are counted, 48 states and Washington, D.C. use a winner-takes-all system, meaning the candidate with the most votes in that state gets all its electors. Maine and Nebraska use a different method that distributes electors based on the vote. To win, a candidate must secure at least 270 electoral votes. Voting in the Electoral College takes place weeks after election day, but we usually know the voter on election night. And finally, Inauguration Day arrives on January 20th at the US Capitol in Washington, D.C. The Vice President is sworn in first, followed by the President, who takes the oath of office, and this marks the start of their terms.